Join me for this week's episode of Science with Dr. CK as we explore tropical storms. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Science with Dr. CK. This week's episode is all about tropical weather. Now, what inspired me to do this episode was a trip that I took to Miami, Florida to visit my family for the Labor Day weekend. And on the morning of September 3rd, we were in the middle of a tropical storm. Now, before we begin to talk about tropical storms in more depth, one of the things that you need to know is that the scientific term for all tropical storms is really a tropical cyclone. However, only tropical cyclones that form over the Atlantic Ocean or the Eastern Pacific Ocean are called hurricanes. When they're formed around the east side of Africa or Australia, we refer to those as cyclones. And if they're formed in the Western Pacific Ocean, they're referred to as typhoons. Tropical cyclones will only form over warm waters near the equator. And how this happens, is the warm, moist air over the ocean rises upward from near the surface. As this air moves up and away from the surface, there's less air left near the surface. And then the air from the surrounding areas with higher pressure pushes into that low pressure area. Then that new air becomes warm and moist and rises also. So as this warm air continues to rise, the surrounding air swirls in to take its place. And as it's warmed, the moist air rises and cools off. The water in the air forms clouds. And then this whole system of clouds and winds, it just starts spinning and grows. And then it's fed by the ocean's heat and the water evaporating from the surface. Storms that form north of the equator will spin in a counterclockwise direction. And storms that form south of the equator will spin counterclockwise. As the storm rotates faster and faster, an eye forms in the center. And it's actually very calm and clear in the eye because it's got very low air pressure. The higher pressure from above flows down into the eye. As you can see from this table, there are several stages for a tropical cyclone to form into a hurricane. The first stage is a tropical wave. This is when you have a low pressure trough of persisting winds that are blowing from the east to the west. The next stage is called a tropical disturbance. This is when you have an organized area of thunderstorms that lasts for at least 24 hours and is accompanied by heavy rains and gusty winds. The third stage is a tropical depression. This is when you have an organized area of tropical low pressure in which sustained winds are 38 miles per hour or less. The fourth stage is a tropical storm. This is when the tropical cyclone has maximum wind speeds of between 39 to 73 miles per hour and is accompanied by thunderstorms. And the final stage is the hurricane. This is when the tropical cyclone has maximum winds of at least 74 miles per hour and again is accompanied by thunderstorms. In addition, the SaffirSimpson Scale is what is used to measure the intensity of a hurricane and put them in different categories. As you can see from this table, the lowest category is a Category 1, where you have wind speeds of between 74 to 95 miles per hour, and the estimated damage at landfall would be minimum, and the approximate storm surge would be between 4 to 5 feet. And the highest stage would be a Category 5, where you have 157 or higher miles per hour for your winds. The damage at landfall is estimated to be catastrophic, with a storm surge of over 19 feet. Another thing I was really curious about is how exactly are tropical storms named? Well, since 1953, Atlantic tropical storms have been named from lists that are generated by the National Hurricane Center. Now, these lists are lists of 6 lists that are used in rotation and recycled every 6 years. And the only time that a name is taken off of the list is if a storm is so deadly or so costly that it would be inappropriate to use that name in the future for sensitivity reasons. Here is a really cool map showing continental United States hurricane strikes from 1950 to 2017. Interestingly, there were no hurricane strikes in the continental U.S. in the years 2000, 2001, 2006, 2009, 2010, 2013, and 2015. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, what inspired me to talk about tropical weather and tropical storms was my recent trip that I took to Miami when, out of the blue, I was faced with another tropical storm, specifically Tropical Storm Gordon. And as you look at the map here, you can see that we were facing tropical weather, and I decided to go ahead and venture out and try and capture that on video. So this footage that you see was taken from Black Point Marina, which is not too far from my parents' house where I grew up. And one of the things that changed my life growing up was Hurricane Andrew. Now, Hurricane Andrew happened to make landfall on August 24th of 1992, shortly after I had graduated from high school. And as you can see from this map, it was a huge storm, and it definitely changed my life. After going through Hurricane Andrew, I decided I was not going to live in Miami, Florida anymore. And even though I had a scholarship to attend the University of Miami, I decided to move out of state. However, once I graduated and I wanted to move back to Florida to be closer to my family, I specifically looked at where hurricanes actually struck the state of Florida. And as you can see from this map, very few hurricanes have made direct landfall in the Tampa Bay area. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to live in Tampa. Since I started this video, we've had 2 other major tropical storms that have affected the continental United States, including Hurricane Florence, that made landfall on September 14th of 2018 as a Category 1 hurricane near Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. And most recently, Hurricane Michael, which formed October 7th as Tropical Depression number 14. It then became a hurricane on October 8th and made landfall on October 10th near Mexico Beach, Florida as a Category 4 hurricane. I hope that you've enjoyed this video all about tropical weather and that you've gained more insight into what makes a tropical storm and a hurricane. Feel free to share any videos or pictures and experiences that you might have had with tropical weather. Thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe to my channel.